What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. It's another edition of Sports Banter across the country. Got myself, Trajan here. Trajan from Wisconsin Sports on the Go. Make sure you definitely check that out, which I'm sure we'll probably touch on a couple of his teams throughout the course of the night. Uh, I mean, you just saw me on sideline, so I'm back once again. But before we get into wherever the show's going to go tonight, because like I said, it's sports banter, so we kind of raise the topic and we just go with it. But yeah, so Trajan, how are you doing tonight?
Kyle, I tell you what, it's gonna rain. I haven't said that in a while. I used to go into the show every day and I would tell you guys it
Mm-hmm.
was raining. We were under a tornado warning. I'd tell you that every day. It has been like
Yeah,
2 months since we have
yeah.
seen rain. It is like a drought up here. So I told the wife before she went to bed, I was like, "You want to see a spectacle?" I said, "It's about the rain." I was like, "We better go outside and watch the rain come in." Like this is like Northern Lights all over again right now. So, but besides that, I mean, great day. Great day. Bucks back. I mean, there's no better time of year, right? No better time of year.
Mm-hmm.
College basketball right around the corner. The NBA's just getting full swing. NHL's back for all the hockey fans. NHL's back.
Yeah,
NFL's in full swing. College football. The playoff rankings come out early November, right? The first one I think is in early November, if
yeah, I think
not
so.
next week, sometime in there, right? So I mean, it is a heck of a time in sports right now, and I mean, there's a whole lot happening. Man, oh man.
Yeah, I mean it. There are like a couple of times in the sports calendar that you just can't wait for. Like I said, when basketball kind of intersects with football, intersecting with the World Series, like that's one. I always say March when you get March Madness, like the opening weekend is always crazy. So yeah, I'm sitting back, I'm loving this, watching Celtics. Bruins aren't necessarily doing as well, but I still watch, and obviously the Red Sox are in the World Series, but it's all good. So yeah, so if you guys are tuned in, any topic that you would like for us to talk about, you can put that in the chat as well. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm kind of gonna let you Trajan throw out the first thing you want to talk about. Like, what you got?
The biggest, I don't know, say it's not the biggest thing, I guess, to talk
Okay.
about, but Penn State is in the news and not for the right reason today. And I was hoping Aaron would be on tonight because I wanted to talk to Aaron about it. I know I'm going to get into it tomorrow on my show because Wisconsin plays Penn State this weekend. And this incident really irritated the crap out of me. And it actually made me think less of James Franklin. It did. So what happened was is two former Penn State players, defensive end Jamel Lyons and Cavalian Keys. I don't know how to say his name. Something Keys, right? Linebacker
Mm-hmm.
there at Penn State. They were both charged with felony rape, and then there's a whole laundry list of things after that. I'm not going to get into everything. There's aggravated assault. There's a whole bunch of crap on there. Not crap, but what they did. And
Right.
the media asked James Franklin about it today at his press conference. And, the normal thing, what coaches, everything like that, I guess, would do is if you're a good coach or a good runner of the program, right? You're going
Mm-hmm.
to address it. You're going to say, like, hey, I am sorry for this girl, what happened to her. I pray that she's going to get better. I pray for her family. I pray for everybody affected by this situation. And we talked about before he came on, and you said it perfectly. This is not what we do at this program. This is not us. This doesn't define us. We're going to try and move on from this. But once again, we pray for this, for her and her family and everything like that they can move
Mm-hmm.
on. And none of that. None of that. James Franklin just walks away. He says, I will not be answering questions about this, and walks away. That
Yeah.
honestly irritates me. That irritates me because these are two guys that you brought into your program, And this is what they did. And it wasn't your fault. I'm not saying it's James Franklin's fault that they did this. I'm not saying that.
Mhm.
What I'm saying is James Franklin needs to answer that question. He needs to go out there and he needs to tell the media face to face, I am sorry for what happened to this girl. That was not us, and everything like that. So I wanted to hear what you kind of had to say on that, because I just think James Franklin showed me a side of himself today that I don't enjoy. I honestly
Yeah.
don't. Penn State's been under scrutiny for a couple times with coaches for this same kind of crap happening. And this wasn't James Franklin doing it by any means, but this is a problem with your program, and you need to address something like this.
Yeah, and look, being in Atlanta, I'm watching the Georgia program have these same issues where they have guys who continuously get into trouble off of the field. Kirby Smart having to answer for that, because when you look at college football coaches, you're looking for, leader among men, even though a lot of these college kids, some of them act mature, some don't. So, like you said, James Franklin cannot be held accountable for every guy that's on the football team. But when you're talking about allegations like that serious, you want to hear from the coach. Like, you want to see, is he upset? Has he kicked them off the team? Is he letting the legal process play out? Like something, because there could be other guys on the team who might have wanted to hear what coach had to say. And the fact that he just walked out, I agree. I don't like that. That's not what I would want my head coach to do, especially if I'm a parent, I send my kid to that school. I'm assuming the coach is going to have the best interest of everybody there. So now him walking out just leads to more questions. Does he condone it? Does he care? Is he going to be a disciplinarian? And just walking out does not mean the questions go away. That's the problem for James Franklin. The next time he's available to the media, some reporter's going to go, hey, remember that question from the other day you walked out on? You have anything to say now? And if he walks out again, it's going to be an even bigger story. So, yeah, I agree with you. Not what he should have done. Even though he may have been over it and didn't want to answer it, you still have to say something. Like, Penn State, we have these values. We don't agree with what they did. There you go. We're going to let the legal process play out. The kids probably won't be on the field until it's all sorted out. Fine. But just
Yep.
walking out is probably the worst thing he could have done.
Oh yeah, and then you have your university spokesperson. That's what they say. Comes up to the stage then and says, regarding the two former Penn State football players, we released a statement yesterday, and our program and athletics department will have no further comment. Okay, so then Franklin comes back, right? He threw his little tantrum. He walked off. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to answer questions. He comes back up. Another reporter asked him about dismissing the players, and he walked away again. And then the spokesperson had to come back up because now basically yelling at people and telling them, again, guys, the university already released a statement. I don't care if the university released a statement. Guess what? That's not you,
Yeah.
James Franklin. That's not your
Yeah.
words, right? It's not your words. I want to hear it from you. I want to hear you tell the world that you are sorry for what happened here and that you want to move on. That's what I want to hear. Right now, I don't know what to make of this, but I wanted Wisconsin. I want Wisconsin to beat Penn State on Saturday. I
Yeah.
really do. Like, that is my goal in life. But I want him to kick the shit out of them now. Sorry for cussing. Family friendly. I want it to be just a
All good.
complete stomping of Penn State now, because this is ridiculous. Because guess what? They'll get stomped by Wisconsin, and then they're going to play Ohio State. That would make my day if James Franklin lost those two games. And just because of this, because like Jory
Mm-hmm.
said before there, James Franklin's a clown. I 100% agree with you there. You have to be better. You have to be better. This doesn't seem like a big situation, but to that girl, to her family, to the rest of the team, to everybody else in the Penn State community, this should be a big situation, because this is a tarnish on your program. Why does Kirby Smart come out and tell things about his guys? Yeah, I mean, there's the guys who are involved in hit and runs. There's guys who are involved in maybe a robbery or whatever it is. They're involved in this bad stuff. Why does Kirby Smart come out and talk? Why? Because he's protecting his program. He wants guys to know this is not how we run it here. Because if, Kyle, you're a recruit that's looking to go somewhere, and if your family sees what's happening at Georgia, what the players are doing at Georgia, do you think your parents want to send you to Georgia? Not a chance. Not a chance. But if Kirby
Yep.
comes out and he says, hey guys, like, this ain't what we're condoning here. We're going to have, like, we're swift to it. We're going to have big penalties for, you do something stupid off the field, big penalties. Now, this is a legal situation, so that's a completely different penalty. I'm not saying it's in the same ballpark, but you want guys to know that your program is a tight ship, and this is just one incident that is so far away from the program, it's not even funny. This is making it seem like, man, we're a little nervous about what's going on here, and I don't want to talk about it really, so I'm just going to try and run away from it. Just a terrible look there. Just a terrible look.
Yeah, and the worst part of it, the program that's there, Penn State, had some issues not too long ago.
Yep.
So that
And you
for
thought you
James
moved on.
Franklin, yeah, and that was kind of part of the reason why they went after James Franklin. Like he was supposed to be the image of the program that was supposed to be the complete opposite of the previous regime. Like he's supposed to come in squeaky clean and all that. And I believe this is probably like the first kind of issue that's kind of met him at his doorstep. So far, he's fumbled it. Now, can he come back maybe tomorrow or something and do something to change things? Possibly. It won't have the same effect because obviously when you first do it and you walk off, that's going to be the image people have. But it's like you said, college programs are different than the NFL. Like your response doesn't only affect your players, but you have other college kids who may know the victim or know the players involved and want to know like what kind of person they share in a classroom with. Like this could be a very big thing, and I don't want to like wish this on James Franklin or anything. This is the kind of stuff that can cost you a job.
Yep.
If the AD and all that don't think that you now are a strong leader, and if you aren't winning at a high level, they don't really have a reason to keep you around.
No, and you talked about it great there. You said, I don't know if, talking about it tomorrow is going to fix it. I don't know if it will completely, but
Yeah.
if you come out and you are apologetic and you say, you know what, I messed up yesterday. You guys asked me my thoughts on it, not the university's thoughts, not everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. You asked my thoughts on it. And I'm sorry I didn't answer those questions for you guys. Here it is. This is what I have to say on the situation. And then just do that simple little talk. Like, I pray for the family and the girl that was affected in this situation. And I want that to be known that this is not how it goes here at Penn State. Simple, done. It literally could have lasted 15 seconds. Like, we just gave him a whole speech that he could have gave in 15 seconds, and it would have been done over with. But
Yep.
now it drags on. Now people are talking about James Franklin. Now people are talking about the Penn State program. Now Wisconsin fans are sitting here like, I hope the Badgers kick the ever-living crap out of them. We don't even care anymore. Like, we wanted to beat Penn State. We didn't care to beat them by that much. Now we're like, let's kick the crap out of them.
I think that's a great comment from Jory.
Yep.
People say Penn State, they think Paterno and others, and now this. There may
You
be some kids who
finally
may look
got
at this
out
and
of
go,
Paterno.
yes. So, yeah, I mean, because we all know with college, there's business aspects of it. Like if he can't recruit as well as he has before because of this, that's stuff that ADs aren't going to stand for.
Yep.
So, look, James Franklin, like if you need to kind of fight for your job at this point. And that's even before you get to the game, because obviously if they lose, that's going to be a big deal as well. But he has to make sure the players are on the same page, because it may, like I said, there probably were some players who were waiting to hear from him. And now that he's walked off, there could be players that see him lesser than before. That could be an issue. Just that simple walking out could have created a whole set of problems that James Franklin may not have been ready for.
He's not, and I wish Aaron was here because he'd tell you guys the same thing out there. He's not a great coach. He's not a great coach. He has a terrible record against winning teams. If you actually look up his record against Ohio State, is absolutely terrible. I can pull that up real quick, but I think he's 0 for 4 against Ryan Day. Let's see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Franklin was he at Vanderbilt first?
Let's see. He's 1-9 against Ohio State. 1-9
Yeah.
against Ohio State. He is 4-16 against Ohio State and Michigan, and he's 12 for 26 while facing top 25 ranked teams. So that tells you that's rough. You can't win
Yeah.
big games. And to have an incident like this, now it just tops that off, right? It just tops that off and says, I don't know if this guy can win. I tell you what, they are giving, Penn State people are talking about this game right now against the Badgers, and they're talking like it's going to be like when we played Alabama, and it's just a complete rout. I tell you what, if it's a game by the end of the third quarter, if it's a game at the end of the third quarter, watch out. Watch out. If there's a team on upset alert this week, Penn
Mhm.
State faces Ohio State next week. This is
Yeah.
Camp Randall. This is under the lights in Madison.
Mhm.
I tell you what, that's a different kind of atmosphere. And if there's a team on upset alert this week, I think it's Penn State. I'm not saying the Badgers are going to win. They might get blown out. Like, I'm not going to tell you point blank here. Like, I'm fully confident the Badgers will win this game. But I tell you what, if it's a game, James Franklin's going to have to coach his way out of it. I don't know if he can.
Yeah, I mean, we see it time in time out. Like when you have a big boy top of your conference game the following week, you kind of take your foot off the gas, you let up, you play a little bit more undisciplined, and hey, it's whether or not not Nebraska, Wisconsin can take advantage of that. That's gonna be. I feel like because of this, a lot more people will be watching that game to see, do the players play hard for James Franklin? Do we see an undisciplined team? Do we see cracks? And if we do, James Franklin's seat will definitely be hotter. I know they're like fourth ranked or something like that now. No, not
Third?
fourth ranked. Yeah, third.
They
Yeah,
might be the third ranked team in the country right now. Yes, they are. They're number 3 in the country. And, a
right.
big part of that's
But
third quarter. The big part of that's third
yeah.
quarter for Penn State. If Wisconsin avoids the third quarter, I mean, just barrage by
Mm-hmm.
what they do. I mean, this could be a ball game. This could really be a ball game there. What did Jory say? Wisconsin can. They showed me something again. I agree. I agree. Jory, I 100% agree. I got some grief for this. But I said Wisconsin played toe to toe with Alabama. It wasn't for a full game, it was for a half. And everybody said, well, you got to play a full game in football. I'm not saying you don't have to play a full game in football. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you went up as a Wisconsin team. You went up against a Bama team who was supposed to blow you out. That's just how it was. They were supposed to blow you out. And you stood toe to toe with them. You had a backup quarterback come into that game because your starting quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, went down with injury on the first drive of the game, right? The Badgers were moving the football on the first drive of the game, and he goes out. That changes an entire game plan. That
Yeah.
changes everybody's outlook on the game. I'm not saying they would have ended up beating Alabama if he stayed in. What I'm saying is I mean, they went toe to toe with Alabama. They played a good game against USC and then a not so good second half against USC. They've routed the last 3 teams they've played. One of them being Rutgers on the road, one of them being Purdue. You don't know if you really count those. They beat Northwestern in Northwestern, which winning in Evanston for the Badgers is impossible. Like that is the biggest
Yeah.
monkey on their back. So I mean, I'm more
Yeah.
confident about this game than I was about the Ohio State game last year.
Right. It's that thing where they talk about like moral victories and all that kind of stuff. There are instances where if you look deeper than just the box score, you find little things that give you hope, and that's why I feel like you and Jory are definitely talking about. Now we'll see. Does this weekend turn into another moral victory where you hang tough with Penn State and then that gets away from you, or do they now go into that matchup with Alabama in the back of their mind, like, yeah, Penn State's highly ranked, but we hung with Bama. Why can't we beat Penn State? And go into that game, be confident, be just fly around the ball because you never know. All it might take for Penn State a turnover or two, and it just snowballs for them in the other direction, and you got yourself a chance at an upset.
Yep. In Camp Randall under the lights. I mean, there's nothing better than that. That's an atmosphere that's tough to play in no matter what. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, end of the third quarter, you're in it yet. I mean, if it's you're winning or you're in it, jump around comes on at the end of the third quarter. That's a motivator right there. That's a
Yep.
motivator for you. So I
Yep.
mean, it should be a good one. Should be a good one this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm
I
supposed to
agree.
be there. I'm supposed to be there. From as far as I know, I'm going to be there under the lights in Camp Randall.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm sitting in some pretty nice seats for the game for that one. So, I'm hoping for a Badgers win because I don't want to watch a depressing one.
Right. I mean, yes. I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll see next week if you're celebrating a win or not.
I know I need
So I,
Aaron. Aaron's got to be on here if Badgers win. Badgers win. I got to. Aaron's got to be here.
yeah, yeah, I feel like that. Yes, we definitely have to have that happen. Um, so I did ask in the chat, like if there were things that you wanted us to talk about. Jory put in a few of them. She put in this one about the Clippers. I don't know if you saw this one, but
I did not.
so, so basically, what's going on is there's a former staffer that has this lawsuit against the Clippers because he's basically saying that they promised him like a position within the team because he had like a connection to Kawhi Leonard, helped get Kawhi Leonard there. He gets there, and it's like they completely freeze him out. They don't listen to his advice. He was a medical personnel. He like tried to warn the team about Kawhi's knees and all this kind of stuff. They like played him despite his recommendations. He talks about like a toxic work environment because of stuff that they promised him. He didn't get. He ultimately leaves, and then now, as we're like uncovering the story, it's basically that he had a torn meniscus. The team made him play. I think this guy was saying like he needs to sit out like 2 seasons. The team didn't listen. There was an instance of him taking a knock to the head. He talks about like Kawhi showed signs of a concussion. The team ignored it, and Kawhi played through it. And obviously, we know Kawhi has a long list of an injury history. So I think for me, the biggest thing is when you look at this story, I feel like the Clippers were just so determined to, because once again, kind of like Penn State, as we talked about, the Clippers went through the whole Donald Sterling stuff that came to a head. They got him out. Ballmer comes in as the fresh face with the new energy, but they still had that issue of being the little brother to the Lakers, sharing the building, all this. So Ballmer is like building the brand. They get Kawhi Leonard. They're like, okay, maybe this is the guy who gets us a title. We could finally put a banner of our own up there. It just looks like there's a whole bunch of irresponsible, just turning a blind eye to the signs that were there, that they should have taken more care of Kawhi Leonard. Because, like I said, we've known since San Diego State, his knees are not made to play in the NBA for like 15, 20 years. They're like degenerative. It's only a matter of time before he probably has to call it quits. I mean, the timing of it is not great. New season starting and everything, but lo and behold, Kawhi's in street clothes as the season starts. So, for a Clippers team that dealt with all the Ballmer stuff, I'm not the Ballmer, the Sterling stuff, and now this, I guess, is the first thing under Ballmer. There's another thing, not a good look. And maybe it's just because Kawhi is not the most vocal that he hasn't really said much about this. I don't know. I kind of want to hear what Kawhi has to say about the lawsuit now.
That's what my big okay. So I mean, he's suing because he told them that Kawhi Leonard had this wrong with him and this wrong with him. Did he tell Kawhi Leonard that this was wrong with him? Because I tell you what, if the organization could force Kawhi Leonard to play, I don't understand why he's the like. I forget Kawhi Leonard's actually in the NBA after a while. Like he just
Yeah.
he doesn't play for about 30 games, and I'm like, oh, Kawhi Leonard plays for the Clippers. I forgot about that. Like he hasn't played in 14 days. Oh wow,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like you just forget he's even there half the time. So I mean, yeah, 100%. I want to hear what Kawhi Leonard has to say because they cannot force Kawhi Leonard to play in a game of basketball if this trainer told him that, hey, you have this wrong with your knee and this wrong with your knee. Why is he playing? why is it? This is a guy who accepted load management as like a premium. Like that's what he's
Yeah.
okay with it. He's all good with it. So why is he even playing then if he understands? This sounds like a guy who, if they were in the playoffs when he said this sounds like a guy who just wanted to play. Like he wanted to be out there in the playoffs. That's just, I mean, this whole thing seems stupid. Like to be honest with you, like he's suing him for promising him things where they ever written. This is like that quarterback from UNLV, right? He was
Oh
promised
yeah.
he was going to get $100,000, right, or whatever it was. He was promised, right? Promises are
Hmm.
promises, but I mean, you're in big business, boys. Like promises don't always be held. Like this has got to be written down. This has got to be in a contract. This has to be set in stone. None of this was set in stone from the sounds of it. It was just a promise. Well, I mean, sorry. Like this is the NBA. This is the promises are far and few between, and far and few that they actually hold up to them. So I mean, I get, yeah, they shorted him and they didn't listen to him and they kind of minimized him. But at the same time, if he told Kawhi Leonard what was going on and Kawhi Leonard still decided to play, that's Kawhi Leonard. That's his fault. Kawhi Leonard chose that. He could have said, "Oh nope, this guy told me that this is going to happen to me," or he could have said, "I want a second opinion." Right? Kawhi Leonard could have said, "Hey, my trainer, this strike guy is telling me this. I'm going to go get it checked out again by a second guy, and if he tells me the same thing, sorry Clippers, I'm not playing. Like I'm going to look out for my own body." He didn't do
Hmm.
that, did he? He played. He played in the game. I don't know. This is. I mean, the Clippers have always seemed like they're a mess, right? And this is just
Yeah.
another thing. This is just another thing on it. Kawhi Leonard has been banged up forever, it seems, right? I mean, he hardly plays as it is. You don't know if he's actually going to play or not. He's out indefinitely right now. Who even knows when he could come back? I don't even know.
Yeah. That's going to be now with this lawsuit out there. I think people are going to look to see how many games does Kawhi play this year. How
Yep.
healthy is he? Is this all stuff that, since it's been a couple of years going, are there going to be lingering effects that affected it even this year and next year? I agree with you. The Clippers have always been one of the laughing stock franchises of the NBA. Like they have multiple seasons with very low win totals. They're sharing a building with one of the more storied franchises of the league. Yet it's basically all Laker stuff in the building. Laker games are selling out. Clippers games, it's plenty of seats available. And it's like now they finally have made an identity for themselves because they have their new building. They're trying to separate from the Lakers, but now you have this. And and as I said before, like because Kawhi is such a quiet guy, I don't know if we'll ever hear from him.
Yep.
But it just seems like this story, the lawsuit seems like the top level of it. Because like you said, who knew what when, who are all the people that were told about it and act like they didn't care, what was relayed to Kawhi? Because the worst part would be like if this trainer was like, Kawhi looks like this, but then a staff member goes to Kawhi and goes, yeah, you're good, you're good. No, you're feeling a little pain, but it's normal, you'll be fine. And Kawhi just going off of that, it was like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and play, and then he keeps finding himself hurt. Because Jory did put in the chat a little earlier, like if it turns into that, then yeah, they did Kawhi dirty. And for a guy with the injury history, they may have shortened his career even more than it probably was shortened with what we knew about his body before. It's just to
Yeah.
say Clippers
No.
get what they deserve. So yeah,
Like you said, I mean, the only way that this goes through, because nobody in that building is going to tell on,
yeah,
anybody else. The only way that this lawsuit is going to happen is if we see Kawhi talk. You need Kawhi to talk. Kawhi needs to say, yes, this is what was going on. Like, I mean, man, oh man.
got Mo in here. What's up, Mo? Kawhi hates a little crazy because it's not like he tricked the Clippers. They knew he had chronic issues with his knee. Let's be better than George Jefferson. That's what I'm saying. Everybody knew when he got drafted. That was like the book on him.
Yep.
People have looked at his knees. They don't like what they see. And That's why I'm like the Clippers are just so desperate to take some attention away from the Lakers. They were the little brother for so long. They finally got this big free agent that they could sit there and be like, this is the guy who's going to turn around for us. We're going to go for it. Because I've said before, when you look at the Pistons kind of did this with Grant Hill. Grant Hill had a foot injury. Everybody saw it, but because of the playoffs, he tried to play on it. Never the same. Uh, growing up, I heard about Kevin McHale and I saw a little bit about him. They had that guy playing a finals with a broken foot. That shortened his career. Bill Walton had bad feet. Played on him. He didn't have a long career either. Yao Ming had consistent foot issues, and like in some instances, you obviously have to feel bad for the player because he's probably going off of the advice of somebody he trusted within the organization. But like Mo said, they knew what they were getting in bed with by their pursuit of Kawhi Leonard. You take the games you can, but expect him to sit out a lot of them as well.
Agreed. No, agreed.
Jory said, it's one thing to know he has knee issues, another thing to know it and make it worse for greedy purposes. Yeah. That's why I'm like, I would love to hear about the parties involved. And, I'm sure Ballmer would probably get asked about this. I doubt Ballmer does a James Franklin and walks away from it, but I just want to know if we start grilling some of these guys in the Clippers organization, who's the one that maybe slips up and lets something out that we're not supposed to know about.
Yep. I tell you what, getting off topic here, but I figured we were going to move on anyways. Matthew Stafford has got his boys back tonight, Nakua and Cooper Kupp. I don't know, man. I don't think Cooper Kupp's going anywhere because I think this Rams team thinks that they have a shot again. Because I'm watching them against the Vikings right now, and this passing game is opened up wide. This is a completely different team than I saw when they played the Packers a couple weeks ago. Matthew Stafford ain't going anywhere. Sean McVay's sticking around. The defense looks okay. The defense looks okay for the Rams right now. I mean, this looks like a decent team. I mean, watching them play the Vikings right now, this is a decent team.
Yeah, before the season, there were several people who thought the Rams could have been a sneaky Super Bowl team. A lot of people thought they were going to be a playoff team. I did find it weird about the Cooper Kupp trade stuff, especially when it's like, oh, they're asking for a second round pick. I'm like, if that's what it takes to get Cooper Kupp, there's going to be plenty of teams involved. So, yeah, when they look at their division, they see the Niners are struggling right now, and Niners have injury issues of their own. The Seahawks are playing well, but I don't know how many people buy into the Seahawks yet. So if you're a Rams team, you can rattle off 2-3 wins and kind of get back 500 or a game above. Like your season doesn't look so bad right now. I mean, the only thing that may hurt them, the NFC North. How many teams from that division get into the playoffs and steal spots from other teams? Is the Rams' only path winning the division? That might change some things, but yeah, I agree with you. If they get the win tonight over a good Vikings team, that's going to increase their confidence, which is something that maybe that's what they've been lacking all season. When you go out there, Kupp goes down, Nakua goes down, it's easy to think, are we doomed this year? Now, Mo does say that he still thinks he gets moved. He's not the same player. Yeah. I will see. We'll see in a couple of weeks when trade talks probably increase where they are in the standings and how they proceed. Because I thought with the Kupp rumors, was that signaling kind of the end of Stafford and maybe McVay? I feel like McVay is only going to stick around in LA as long as Stafford's there. He almost left already, last year. So maybe they look at this as one last stand to see if they can get it done.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I just don't. If they win this game, I think it changes everything. I really do. I think it changes the mindset. If they lose this game, I feel like all those trade talks keep happening. I feel like Kupp's still out there. I think Stafford Kupp, they have a different kind of connection. And I think that's what works well for that team because Cubs had a couple good looks tonight here. Nakua, I mean, he's a dog. Like, I forgot about Nakua, how good he was until he was back tonight. And I was like, oh, man, this is what they were missing. Like, this team, they got a different, it's like a different energy in the room right when those two showed back up. The offense, it just seems like the offense just looks 1,000 times better. The defense is playing well. It's like the whole team just got a shot of adrenaline. And they're just like, okay, we can still do it. And like you said, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, bold take here. The 49ers don't make the playoffs. I'll be honest with you. I think this is the year they go. The weapons keep getting hurt. They haven't looked good. I worry about that 49ers team because they can't get healthy. And I'm out on the 49ers. I'm out on the 49ers. I think this division is wide open. I think it's wide open. And I could see the Rams with, I don't know how many losses, getting up near the top because I don't trust the Seahawks. I don't. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cup is a number 2, 100%.
Yeah.
Nakua is the number 1. Like, that's no doubt in my mind. Nakua is number 1 on this team. But you need that solid number 2, and that is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was just looking at their schedule going forward. So you have the Vikings tonight. You have the Seahawks, which that's a big deal next week, facing the division leader. If you get that, now you're closing that gap. Then you got a Dolphins team. You have the Patriots. You have the Eagles. You have the Saints. You have those before you kind of get to the end of your schedule, which is definitely treacherous. You have the Rams. I mean, not the Rams. You have the Niners. Actually, you have the Bills before the Niners. Then the Jets. We'll see what the Jets look like then. I mean, whatever. The Cardinals, who, depending on which week it is, the Cardinals either look really good or like a complete mess. And then you end your season with the Seahawks. So you have 2 games against the Seahawks ahead of you. You do have one more chance against against the 49ers. So they're in an interesting spot right now. You know, maybe this is the right time to bring back Kupp and Nakua and try to make a run here. But yeah, if they kind of drop a few of these, then they should put the yard sale sign up and kind of sell off some of these pieces.
No, I agree. And what John said there, he said, he thought you could run on the Rams. The Vikings, I mean, the Rams have played very well in the run tonight. They have played
Yeah.
very good in the run tonight. And it actually honestly surprised me because the Packers, I mean, up against the Rams there, they were doing a little bit of everything they wanted to do in that facet. And the Vikings are just having no luck so far. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here because Sam Darnold has not been good in the second half of games. So the Rams going up 21-17 now, that gets you a little bit nervous if you're a Vikings fan because you're like, I haven't seen Sam Darnold play a very good second half in a while now. He hasn't been able to put that complete game together there. So that's going to be, I mean, a big thing to watch in this one. Yeah, Niners Cowboys. The Niners Cowboys game is going to be season on the line for both those teams. Like the Cowboys get the win there, they're not out of it. But if they lose, I mean, Jerry's making a mess of that place already. He keeps talking and it just keeps going downhill. Like, Jerry, just stop talking. Just stop talking. He's basically, I mean, listening to him talk, you're basically saying Mike McCarthy sucks. Our offense is not good. We didn't have enough money to pay Derrick Henry. He couldn't fit our scheme. Switch the scheme then. I don't care what, like, he's telling me that Derrick Henry won't fit in the scheme. Find a scheme that works for Derrick Henry then. I don't know what to tell you because if it's Mike McCarthy's scheme that he was working with up in Green Bay, Eddie Lacy was on teams. You had some pretty big backs on those teams. So you can figure out a way to utilize Derrick Henry. Right now, you have absolutely no running back, and you look like a crap show down there for who knows why. It's not Mike McCarthy's fault. I'll be honest with you. I feel bad for Mike McCarthy. I feel bad because Mike McCarthy has done nothing wrong. I mean, yeah, okay, I'm not going to say he's done nothing wrong. Mike McCarthy is not the problem in Dallas. Jerry Jones is the problem in Dallas, and that is all I'm going to say.
No, that's a good point. And look, whatever system you have that you don't think Derrick Henry fits, but Zeke Elliott in 2024 fits, I'm sorry, you're losing me on that at that point.
Unless you're not running the football. If you're just a complete passing offense, sure. Zeke Elliott fits the fold. Like, he can stand in the backfield and block for me.
Right. But even then, I would still throw Derrick Henry into that system. Like, Jerry's had a I mean, the past few years have been kind of rough for the Cowboys, but this year, especially the whole offseason, how weird it was, and now the regular season where he's back to his old ways where, hey, if the Cowboys aren't making headlines on the field, I'll do it off the field. Jerry has still yet to find a microphone that he will not stop in front of and talk whatever. He'll just ramble on about stuff, and you'll be like, "Are you gonna fix the Cowboys or what?" And he'll just talk.
Yep.
He'll bring up a few names, and you'll be like, "How's this guy still running a team? Like, how's his
Yep.
son not kicked him out the door yet?"
There has to be you would there's nobody down there that can tell him to shut up. That's the problem. Like
Oh,
you
absolutely
need
not.
you need somebody who can just say stop talking. Just stop talking. Like just whatever you do, stop talking. It is not this, it is not that. You need to avoid microphones. You just need to let this thing play out. There's so many distractions right now in Dallas outside of
Mm-hmm.
football. Like, I mean, yes, the football, I mean, the team's not playing well, right? But it honestly is a shame because the way that Jerry started in Dallas, I mean, he built an enterprise, right? I mean, it wasn't successful football all the time, but it was money making business that made you America's team at one point. You were just this big bad machine down there in Dallas, and it just he built something so great down there, and he used to be the stand-up guy and everything like that, and now I don't even know what to make of it. Like he's making a fool out of himself. He's making a fool out of his entire franchise right now. You don't know if he wants Dak there. You don't know if he wants Mike McCarthy there. You don't know who he wants. Like basically, he's blaming everybody but himself for the downfall of the Cowboys, and yet he's the general manager. He's the guy who makes the decisions. He's the guy who does this. It's always been the problem. It's always been the problem. He needs somebody to do those things for him. He's an owner. You be an owner. You go do your thing. Let somebody else take care of all the players, everything else in between. That's how it runs. That's how it runs. That's how it's supposed to be
Yeah.
ran. Right now, you're just making a mess of this. And I just, it really does. I mean, I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but it sucks to see because Jerry Jones was not always like this Jerry Jones. There was a different Jerry Jones. And this is a new version that's just out of it. And I mean, what Maurice said before there, time for Jerry to head towards Shady Oaks. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah. And even John talking about firing Jimmy, that almost like
I
started the
miss
ego
Jimmy.
trip. Like Jimmy Johnson was doing fine there, and Jerry was like, "Oh, I'm kind of fading to the background. I can't have that. Like we're the Dallas Cowboys. We're Jerry Jones." So he
Yep.
pushed Jimmy Johnson out, brought in with Barry Switzer, who just ran the team with Jimmy's guys. And at that point, he could have sat on the sideline and fell asleep, and that team would have won. Like it's easy to do that when you have Aikman, Urban, and all these guys. Now it's like Jory said, you have Michael Parsons who's trying to be a content creator with his podcast. You have CeeDee Lamb who was just twisting in the wind, wondering about a contract. You don't sign Dak until the like morning before your first game, and it's just like, who runs a team like this?
Yep.
Especially like you said, you're supposed to be America's team. If you're going to be America's team, you're supposed to set the standard. You're as dysfunctional as a winless team would be right now. It's look, it's why their fans every January when we see them, they're crying about something because their team comes up short once again. It's
What's
just too much
worse?
too much dysfunction there.
What's worse? The dysfunction of the Cowboys or the dysfunction of the Jets? Which one is worse right now? Because when I look at the Jets, I see a team
That's a
that
good
shouldn't
question.
be losing football games right now. And when I look
Yeah.
at the Cowboys, I see a team that's got holes in it. Which one is worse right now? Because they're both, I mean, they're both circuses right now, but which one's
Mm-hmm.
worse?
I would say I'd say the Jets, to be honest with you, because at least if I look at Dak, Dak isn't Aaron Rodgers. When you marry yourself to Aaron Rodgers and you allow him to make decisions for you, this is what you run into. If you don't win games because you made these moves for Aaron Rodgers, don't think he's going to take accountability for it. No, not at all. He's going to do the thing that goes. He'll lay back and he'll say, Oh, I didn't tell him to make that move. I would never do that. I love all my teammates. No, you don't. We've seen you shut out Christian Watson and them because they ran the wrong route or dropped a pass from you. But you're sitting here bringing in Lazard. You're bringing in Devontae Adams. You're firing coaches because Robert Saleh was your guy until the offseason when you wanted to go play whatever. And Robert Saleh said, oh, yeah, that wasn't excused. Now you have a problem with him. So if everybody that you come across doesn't roll out the red carpet for you, you immediately cut them off. And for a Jets team that has a lot of young talent over there, I warned Jets fans about this when they went and got him. Aaron Rodgers is not a guy you want young players having to look to because I'll use a reference. Look at Mean Girls. You have your table for the cool people and everybody else. With Aaron Rodgers, he always thinks he's at the cool table and he decides who sits with him and who doesn't. And a lot of times, it's the people he's comfortable with. That's why I'm feeling bad for Garrett Wilson because there's going to come a point if the season really sinks, Rodgers is going to blame him, and that's not going to be fair to him. The same way it's not fair to Mike Williams the way that Aaron Rodgers treated him after that Thursday night game where, yes, Mike Williams turned the wrong way and he slipped. But I also don't need you, Aaron Rodgers, who's had plenty of opportunities this season to win games with the ball in your hand late, and you have thrown late game picks. You are the last person who needs to tell me that I messed up. And then he does that. They come out the next day. The Devontae Adams stuff is heating up. They're like, oh, Mike Williams is available if you want him. How is that fair to Mike Williams? That's my issue. Like, at least with the Cowboys, I know Dak is not a complete dink. Aaron Rodgers is the most selfish guy in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a bold statement because there's a lot of selfish guys, but Aaron Rodgers, he's just I don't get it. I don't get the fascination that some people have with him. I would not want that guy on my team any day.
No, and that's what it was in Green Bay too. Towards the end, it was just a circus. It was just a straight up circus, and you didn't want anything to do with him at any point. Nobody could control him. I mean, Matt LaFleur was calling plays, and Aaron Rodgers said his headset shut off, like he couldn't hear him. That was a whole line of BS right there. I mean, It was just a disaster from the beginning. The Jets tried to catch lightning in a bottle like the Buccaneers did. That's all that it was. They thought, hey, Brady went down to the Bucs. He won a Super Bowl. Maybe we can do it too, right? Bring in Aaron Rodgers. He's got talent. I'm not going to deny Aaron Rodgers' talent. He has talent. He's a very good, at his prime, and even in those MVP seasons, I thought was past his prime, but he's still playing good football. He was still a fantastic quarterback. And then, he goes to the Jets, and it's like it's the lights, man. It's the lights. Some people aren't meant for the lights. You could hide it in Green Bay because you had Green Bay media. Now you're national media. Now you're a story. And I love it because you got Robert Saleh fired from New York, but guess what? He's in Green Bay now. He is helping Matt LaFleur. I don't know if everybody saw this, but now he is on the Packers coaching staff in a fluid role. It's nothing major, but he's learning from Matt LaFleur. And I think that's the best thing for Robert Saleh because he wasn't the problem at the Jets. But he's with Matt LaFleur. He's working with the offense, giving them different looks in the defense, what defenses will see in them on certain plays, everything like that. That's a fantastic position for Robert Saleh. He's still in the NFL. He's still working with guys. And he's learning from Matt LaFleur, who I will argue with anybody is one of, if not the best play caller in all of football. Like that is just, where I sit on that. Matt LaFleur took Malik Willis and made him look like he was something for 2 weeks when Jordan Love was out. This is a guy who knows the offense, knows how to call offense, knows how to teach it. So to have Robert Saleh in the room with him, helping him in that capacity, you love that. And you have Jeff Hafley sitting over there as the defensive coordinator. He doesn't feel like he's pressured. He doesn't feel like this guy's gunning for my job right now. He's sitting there saying, I love this idea. And that's awesome. I thought it was a great thing. Matt LaFleur basically taking a shot. I can't remember what he said. I would have to pull up his press conference, but he said something to poke fun at the Jets for getting rid of Robert Saleh like that. And I thought it was, a great thing for the Packers, a great thing for Saleh to get kind of a fresh start while still getting a paycheck every week because the Jets are still paying him for this year and I believe next year too. So he's still getting paid for both. a win-win for the Packers and Robert Saleh right now, and I love that move. Rodgers, like you said, he's a dink. I He's talented. He had all the talent in the world, and he's going to go out like this. That's the worst
Hmm.
thing. Is he has all the talent in the world, and he's going to go out like this. It sucks. It sucks for the legacy that he kind of left in Green Bay, because there was a lot of good years, but there was a lot of things that held him back. The things that held him back were his, own arrogance, and that's a problem.
So I'm assuming John's wondering, I guess, Matt LaFleur versus Ben Johnson in terms of offensive minds. Um, Ben Johnson's
Man,
interesting. He he
yes,
had so much he had so much pressure last season to take a job, and then he didn't. I might he look him betting on himself may work out in the end, because if you look at the Lions, look at Jared Goff, what he's done with him. Jared Goff is a guy who is out here like with 80% completion percentage, like a lot of these games. Like he does not make mistakes, and I feel like he's a great compliment to Dan Campbell, who I feel like every week I see Dan Campbell, he becomes like more and more one of my favorite coaches in the league. But I don't think you go wrong with either. I do think Matt LaFleur took a bit of a hit because of the Aaron Rodgers part the last couple of years, where Matt LaFleur's job was really in jeopardy because Rodgers didn't like it. I give the Packers so much credit for, like, one, not succumbing to Rodgers' hissy fits during drafts. They always took guys that they wanted and didn't listen to Rodgers, like, oh, give me a wide receiver. They went the route that they wanted to. Love that. I love that they took Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers had a hissy fit, because now looking at it, looked like a great move. And I also give them credit, even though I thought they should have moved on from Rodgers maybe a year or two earlier, for actually doing it. Because some organizations, if you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you try to make him a member of that team for life. The Packers are ready to move on from him. And the last thing I'll say is, I knew everything I needed to know about Aaron Rodgers when he did an interview a couple of years ago, and they asked him like about his ability, and what he said was, "I am still an MVP level quarterback." He didn't say he was a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He said, "I'm an MVP level quarterback," which means he only cares about his numbers. That was all I needed to hear. I was like, this guy could not be on my. And you brought up Tom Brady. Brady would never give an answer like that.
yeah.
Brady would say, "I'm trying to win a ring." Rodgers is like, "I want to win another MVP." So Jets, have fun.
I would. I'm gonna say Matt Lafleur over Ben Johnson. Yes, like I'm going to say that full headed. Like that is when I look at the two offenses in total right now. I look at I'm not going to deny Green Bay's got talent, but they got a lot of young talent, right? And he's had to work with that young talent. He's had to develop that young talent and find ways to utilize them. You have guys like Jaden Reed who are involved in the run game a boatload. You have guys like, look at the offensive line for Green Bay. If you look at their run blocking, and I could pull them all up here on the PFF grades. I just got PFF. It's really, really interesting. A lot of stats in there. But I could pull up the offensive line for Green Bay and look at their run blocking stats.
Mm-hmm.
Not great. Not great at all. But yet Josh Jacobs is up there in yards. He's up there in, yards per carry. He's still up there. How? It's scheming. It's simply scheming, finding ways to get guys open, finding ways to make holes when there aren't supposed to be holes because your offensive line ain't doing it for you. Matt LaFleur finds ways to do those little things for a Green Bay Packer team that, look at them last season. That team was destined for a maybe 7 wins, maybe getting to 7 wins at one point. Like that team was down out. It seemed like it. And then all of a sudden they rattle off some games. They go down to Dallas and they have an offensive explosion against Dallas and a decent defense. Now I know Dallas sucks in the playoffs, but that's still a decent defense down there in
Yeah.
Dallas. And they just completely took it to them. Yes. I'm not going to deny the success of the Detroit Lions. I'm not going to deny that at all. But you have a quarterback in Jordan Love who's still young in his career. You have a young offense. You have a young team in total right now. You have a young team. And this is a guy, Matt LaFleur, who sticks up for no BS, controls this team. The whole lot of flags there. Holy crap, hola. Byron Murphy sucks in pass coverage. I want everybody to know that from the Vikings there. I believe he is actually the worst slot corner in football, if not pretty darn close. I think he ranks like 112 out of 130 cornerbacks. Like he is terrible. He is terrible. If there's a hole in the Vikings defense, it's slot corner. But back to the Malafur. I mean, what he does with an offense is impressive, and I wasn't. I guess I was always impressed by Matt LaFleur. I'm not going to say I never was. When I saw what he did with Malik Willis, when it seemed like the Packers were down and out for a couple weeks there without Jordan Love, and we're like, we got this guy Malik Willis. Titans fans are telling us this guy can't throw a football. What are we gonna do? We're screwed. And yes, they played the Colts and the Titans. They didn't play any great teams by any means, but the Titans have a good defense. The Titans have a very good defense, and Malik Willis looked fine. He looked good, and the schemes that Matt LaFleur was working with, I mean, they were working, and you loved it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say that Ben Johnson isn't a good offensive mind. He's a great offensive mind, but in my mind, I put Matt LaFleur ahead of him. It's close. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson isn't right there with him. Like there's a lot of great offensive minds in the game of football. I'm just saying Matt LaFleur has got to be talked about near the top.
Yeah, and I mean, well, you do talk about that, where we look at a guy like Mike McDaniel, who's supposed to be an offensive genius. He was gifted Tyler Huntley and act like he didn't know what to do with him. And look, Malik Willis went there mid-season, thrust into a starting role, and like you said, for 2 weeks, he looked like a starter in this league if you kind of coach around him. So I do give LaFleur that credit. I mean, I did say, like, if you picked either one, you're still doing well. I mean, look, maybe it's just that I just really like Detroit right now and what they have going. That I said Ben Johnson. I'm interested to see, because obviously coaches are going to be out there. Does Ben Johnson take a job this offseason? And look, maybe it depends on the job. But let's say the Jets come calling him. If I'm him, I would run away from that because I wouldn't want him to be saddled with Aaron Rodgers. But
this is true.
You know that the fact that they fired Saleh, they're going to want an offensive-minded coach next. So they may go all in for Ben Johnson. It's just whether or not he actually wants that headache.
Yeah, I didn't realize how bad the Packers actually were, like ratings wise and run block until I got this. And then I was like, oh man, we suck. Like bad. Pass blocking, we're fantastic. Like we're up near the top in pass blocking. But I look at the run blocking, and I mean, you got Zach Tom. He's rated at 86.5, which is an impressive ranking there in the PFF. But then you look at you got Sean Ryan on here, 58%. You have Elton Jenkins, 58. You have Jordan Morgan, the rookie, 50. Josh Myers, our center, 48. You have Rasheed Walker, 44 PPF. Like, that's bad. That's bad news right there. But then you look at the pass blocking, and that's complete flip the script. You have Elton Jenkins, 83. Zach Tom, 80. 79 for Rasheed Walker. Sean Ryan, he's at 70. You have Josh Myers, he's sitting at 69. Jordan Morgan, 58. It's like a complete flip the script. We can pass block all day long, but we ain't a run blocking team. And that's what makes the scheming of Matt LaFleur that much better is he has to find a way with little success run blocking to find a way to still open up holes for Josh Jacobs, make things happen, maybe pull a guy, get guys out ahead, little things like that you got to love about a guy like that. Being able to scheme when this isn't your strong suit, and that's what I find impressive about Matt LaFleur is with a little, he can do a lot for me.
Yeah. So I see John here because I feel like this is coming anytime John's in the chat. Titan fans believe in their future. Will Levis, LOL, see how that's working out for them. Ha ha. So what I will say is, because Trajan alluded to this earlier, defensively, they look like a team that's ready to win. Look, they took Will Levis, top of the second round. If Callahan uses this season, evaluates Will Levis, goes into the offseason and goes, he's not my guy. Let me go get quarterback let's say Ewers or something. That's the guy he wants. If you're Tennessee, you get him the quarterback that he wants and you move forward. Because that defense isn't going to get necessarily worse next year. Look, Tavondre Sutton being a second year, he may be even better next year. So yes, maybe this is just a little bit of a bump in the road. I'm not going to sit here and say that they should punt on their future. Like I said, I like that defense a lot. I like what Pollard and Spears have shown in the running back room. Yes, they moved on from D Hop, but look, Callahan may bring in a wide receiver as well to pair up with the new quarterback. If we were sitting here next year and the Titans are, in the hunt for the division or in a wild card hunt, would we be surprised? I don't think so. So I'm not going to sit here and necessarily, as you did, laugh at their future. They tried Will Levis. If he's not the guy, you can move on. Gene and from Silent says you marry your coach to the quarterback. Callahan inherited Will Levis. He didn't pick Will Levis. So there might have been other things that drew him to that job that he thinks they're not far away. And I mean, your follow-up here, who's better, Josh Rosen or Levis? Josh Rosen was in the league for like 2 seconds. If you could tell me where he is right now, fine.
We figured it out that day, remember?
Right.
Where
so
was
he was with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals could get Kyler Murray. They said, yeah, Josh Rosen's been nice. You can go. He went to Miami, where I swear he was like Jake. No, I don't know if he crossed with Jay Cutler, but
no, hold on.
He was in
a
Miami.
deeper dive than that. I did a deep dive that one night, and I had to find him. Hold on. I'll see if I can't find him. He's somewhere. Where is he? He is enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. One of the most prestigious programs in the country.
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, more power to him. His NFL career didn't work out. He's finding a new path. I respect it.
I don't hate Will Levis. That's why I don't want to give up on Will Levis yet. It's so hard to say that I don't want to get. I think, Jory and I always go back and forth about this one, but the offensive line for the Titans, they're young. They're still developing. You get a solid offensive line in front of them. I think it's the biggest problem with the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young. I'm not giving up on Bryce Young yet. Put an offensive line in front of him. Give him some weapons and then see what he does, right? That's the only thing you can do. That's what a lot of teams fail to do. You always get the number one picks and you're like, oh, I can just draft a quarterback and it's going to fix my problems. No, it's not. No, it is not. Sometimes you have to build the offensive line first. Sometimes you have to build the defensive line. You have to start from the front and work back. If you just draft a quarterback and he's going out there and just running for his life every play, probably not ideal in those situations. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not giving up on Will Levis. That's no, I am. I think he's still got a shot, but if they are going to go draft a quarterback, I am telling you this now, I am steering clear of if you're trying to for sure, maybe you look at guys like Quinn Ewers. I don't know, some guys like that. Jalen Milroe is a question mark for me. I don't like what I'm seeing right now of Jalen Milroe at Alabama. Shedeur Sanders, I don't know what I'm going to get. Am I going to get this Instagram model guy, or what am I getting? Am I getting a quarterback? I don't know. So I don't know if I'd want Shedeur Sanders. I think you get a whole nother. I like Dylan Gabriel. I'll give John that one. That could be a solid guy in the NFL. He has got a gun on him. Now he's working with a lot of fantastic weapons in Oregon right now. Yeah. So that definitely does make you look good. Yeah. But that dude's got a cannon of an arm. I'd love to see him in there. There's a lot of good options. It just depends. If you're a Titans fan right now, are you missing pieces around your quarterback spot? Are you sitting there comfortable with your wide receiver situation? Are you sitting there comfortable with your offensive line situation? So should you maybe try to address those situations and then look in the quarterback room? Because I know everybody wants to get the quarterback of the future. I'm not saying you don't want to, but if you just get another quarterback and you just throw him out there to the Wolves, guess what? He's going to get bit. He's probably going to get 8, and you're going to see another Will Levis. I mean, it happens. Ask Justin Fields, right? Yes, Justin Fields isn't having a great situation right now in Pittsburgh because he just got benched for Russell Wilson. But I didn't think Fields was put in the best position with the Bears. I don't think he was put in the best position to succeed. And everybody says, well, Justin Fields can't throw a deep ball. Guess what? I watched him at Ohio State. That mother trucker can throw a deep ball because I saw him do it. I watched him do it multiple times. He had what was that game? Was it in the college football playoff that he got completely wrecked and he was like broken from
The Georgia
neck
game.
down? Yes, he was broken from the neck down. His ribs had to have been broken. He was all kinds of messed up, and he's out there gunslinging like he's whipping it down the field. And it's like now I see him now, and they're like, "Oh, he can't throw a deep ball." Why is that? I don't understand that. I don't understand that narrative because I know he can throw a deep ball. So why is
Mhm.
it when he got to the NFL, now all of a sudden he can't throw this deep ball? Is it that last step to his progression getting into the NFL, or what is it? I'm so confused with Justin Fields. It's not even funny because I don't think he's a bad quarterback.
Yeah.
Tell anybody that I don't think he's a bad quarterback. Justin Fields 61 yards versus Clemson in the playoffs. There it is. There it is. We know he can throw a deep ball. Why is he not able to do it in the NFL? I don't get it.
Yeah, look, I'm a Justin Fields fan as well. I mean, because Jory did bring up Petit Frere, who plays what right tackle. So look, if they get a top pick next year, maybe you go tackle and try to fix that. Maybe you go like a mid round quarterback prospect, and maybe Callahan looks at next season and goes, if I get him a wide receiver, I get him a tackle, I'll give Levis another shot. I feel like it is a little premature to say, oh, they're just going to give up on him. Like we don't know that. We don't know what Callahan's thinking is, but I do think all options are on the table. So it'll be interesting to see because I do think you have a good, like you have another good offseason and a good draft. Tennessee can turn it around very quickly.
Yep.
Like there is talent on that team. And I agree with you as well because being a Patriots fan, I'm seeing this where they turn to Drake May and like people are upset they're not winning games. You got to remember the last like 3-4 drafts with Bill Belichick, Patriots fans hated their drafts. Like that's time you have to make up. You have to make up that talent drought, and you can't do it all in one season. So the same way the Patriots told us this is a multi-year rebuild, like fans have to kind of be okay with that. I mean, it makes Sundays rough sometimes because once again, trust me, watching the Patriots lose in London to the Jags of all teams, not a good look. But I can also look at it and say Drake May is throwing touchdown passes. We weren't seeing that with Jacoby Brissett. He's building connections with wide receivers. That's something you build off of. You go into the draft some O line. If I look if a Patriots person was watching, I would say first round pick O line, second round O line, third round O line. I don't care. You throw as many guys as you can at that O line because Drake May has shown you behind this bad O line, he's making throws. So yeah, you're not going to change it all in one off season, and yeah. So John, I'm not going to punt on Tennessee. I picked them as a potential playoff team this year. It's not looking that way, but I'm still excited with what I've seen in Tennessee so far.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. They're Patriots, Titans, Jaguars seem like I don't even know what to call the Jaguars at this point. I think they're building towards being relevant again. I don't even know. Like all of a sudden they just fell apart. I thought after that one
Mm-hmm.
playoff, they won a playoff game, then didn't they lose to like the Chiefs or something? And I was like, oh, the Jags, they'll come back next year. They'll look good. It's never been the same. I don't know what happened, but it hasn't been the same. They have weapons, they have guys.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on. I am kind of leery of them with the Packers going to play the Jags down in Jacksonville. I'm not saying that's going to be a for sure win because it's still a dangerous team. So there's a lot of teams out there who have some building to do, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do it through the draft, through free agency, how they're all going to build these teams up there.
I mean, John, there's one issue with this. Max Duggan, isn't he like 28 already? I feel
Yeah.
like he was an older quarterback, so he's not net. I mean, that's one of the issues with because even Dylan Gabriel's been in college for several years as well. I like Duggan actually. I saw him play at TCU. I think with that same playoff game that they lost, but they lost like on the last second field goal. I thought Duggan had a pretty good performance. The only thing working against him, oh, he's 23. I thought that guy was like so much older. But even then, 23, sure. But I think questions with Duggan was like arm strength or something. Is something that people have talked about with him. I think
Well,
Duggan is a guy who, once again, based off of the few times I saw him at TCU, he seemed like a guy that, you know, kind of has like some Baker qualities with him.
let's see if we can't find him in the
I
system
honestly thought
here.
he was older than 23. That's kind of wild. He's only 23.
Wow, he's not even Max Duggan's way down here. Can't even find him in my system, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
Is Max Duggan still in college?
No, he's a, well, John says he's a free agent. I know some team like picked him up as an undrafted free agent.
Do you take a shot like that? I don't know if to take a shot like that. But don't bring in Tannehill. Don't Tannehill experience is donezo.
Yeah, Tannehill is more for. Oh, that's right. He was with the Chargers. Thanks, John. Yes, he was waived by the Chargers. Like Tannehill is more of your maybe young quarterback goes down. You have a team that's kind of right there. You need a veteran to kind of hold it together. Tannehill's like your Joe Flacco. Flacco sitting around. Browns basically lose everybody under the sun. They reach out to him. He comes in. That's what Tannehill is. And
Yes.
that's also is like Tannehill hasn't mentally kind of retired. It just hasn't filed the paperwork.
Who told me that Cooper Cup was not good anymore? Did somebody tell me that earlier?
Well, Mo said he's not a number one anymore. He's a number
Oh,
two.
yeah, yeah. Well, he just caught a 3rd and 9 first down pass from Stafford here, and the Rams got the ball up 28-20, and they're driving right now. So I tell you what, he might not be a number one, but he's still a dog.
Yeah, look, Cup finds ways to get open. Like that's what you know about him. I
I
mean,
know.
that season when he was like breaking records with catches, like defenses knew he was gonna get the ball, and he still found ways to get open.
That year I drafted him in like the 5th round too in my fantasy because nobody knew about Cooper Cup. I didn't
Yeah,
really know anything about Cooper Cup. I was just like, oh, I need a wide receiver. Oh, Cooper Cup's on here. Okay, I'll take Cooper Cup. And then all of a sudden he just blows off, and I'm like, I got the best wide receiver in the game, and I didn't even know I was going to get him.
yeah. Hey, look, you pair certain guys with the right quarterback, and they can do wonders. And it seems like for Cup,
Stafford can still do wonders.
Stafford was the right guy for him. Even though,
100%.
yeah, even with Stafford, I have questions necessarily like how long he plays because of whenever I hear a quarterback with like neck fusion surgery, I always am weary of that because that's kind of what derailed Manning's like last couple of years when he could barely throw the ball by the time he was done. Hasn't happened to Stafford yet. Stafford can still throw, like you said. But I'm always worried about that kind of surgery for a quarterback.
Agreed. Agreed. What's the most, I got a question.
Okay.
Most intriguing, or maybe two, most intriguing matchups you got this weekend in the NFL?
Oh yes, I usually like looking at this. Hold on a second. I would say
There's not a lot of great games, but there's a lot of, I guess, storyline. Like, could
yes.
be season determining, could be direction, if things are right
Hmm.
or wrong. Like,
I think the game that I am intrigued by Buffalo traveling to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Buffalo's going in at 5-2. The Seahawks are 4-3. We know whenever like a West Coast team goes to the East Coast, that's tough. Same thing when the East Coast goes out to the West. And I think for Seattle, because the way we're talking about the Rams and we're talking about the Niners, the Seahawks have to capitalize on this and create some separation. And if they can get a win against a good team in Buffalo that now has like a new energy because of Amari Cooper, that could propel them. I mean, look, you're looking at wide receivers in that game like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Now you got Amari Cooper. Like that could be a game where you just see the ball passing all around. So that's definitely one for me. Washington and Chicago. Although I don't know if Anthony's in here. Is Jaden Daniels going to play in that game? I'm assuming he is. I know he
He
has
is
like the
not.
rib injury. Oh,
He
he's
is
not.
not going to play. Nope, he is out.
That kind of hurts that one for me. Because that would have been nice seeing Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams.
Agreed.
Atlanta Tampa Bay is always an interesting matchup. But that's even with Tampa Bay with no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. But I tell people this all the time. Do not bet against Baker Mayfield getting that win. Baker Mayfield will take whatever guys are out there. He will be their rah-rah guy, and he's going to try. I would say look for the other wide receiver from Washington. Is it McDaniels? This might be the opportunity for him, and he may make a name for himself in that game.
I could see that.
So I guess those are probably the two for me.
I like the John brought it up there. The Eagles and the Bengals. I like that
That's
matchup. I
interesting
want
too.
to.
Yeah.
I want to see what Sirianni can do because this isn't a great defensive team in the Bengals, but this is a good offense. Joe Burrow can still sling it. They got T. Higgins. They got Jamar Chase. Like this is still a very good offense for the Bengals. So I'm interested in that matchup because the Bengals, their backs are against the wall. Like this is about season it. Like plain and simple. Eagles, I mean, they could be in the same boat too. I know they just came off a win last week. They're still 4-2. You got the Bengals. Then you get a little bit of an easier schedule after that with the Jaguars, the Cowboys. You have the Commanders, though, coming up on there. So you got a lot of divisional games. This is a big one for the Eagles. This is a big one for Sirianni to make sure that this is pointing in the right direction. So I like that matchup. I like this matchup right now. Minute 46 left, 28-20. Rams, Vikings got the ball. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go. Dallas, San Francisco. Yeah. That's got to be a big one for everybody because we're talking about a season-defining game for both these teams right now. I'm not high on either one. I think the loser of this game is definitely not even in the – I don't even put them in my playoff picture anymore, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at with that one. What other – there's like I said, there's not a lot of, like, you know,
there's
Max
not
Crosby.
A lot of, like, big-name matchups, yeah.
Max Crosby is going to whack Patrick Mahomes once. He's going to start talking crap, and then all of a sudden, I mean, Mahomes is just going to get pissed off and light him up. Like, that's what he does. So if Max Crosby's smart, he doesn't talk to Mahomes, and they maybe don't get murdered. But outside of that, that's not going to be much there. I am intrigued by the Jets in New England. I am intrigued. I want to see if the Jets can actually win it with, you know, this Devontae Adams blew up in the locker room. Rodgers like, that a boy, baby, coach him up. Like it's what he was hoping for, right? Little too late, but that's okay, right? Run the table. That's what Rodgers would tell you. I'm interested to see what the Jets look like in this game against New England. Now Devontae's in his second game in. I know in that first game you did mention Garrett Wilson's going to get a lot of the blame. He did drop a couple balls that he should have had in that game there. So, I mean, that's something that needs to be cleaned up in this one. But, like, I'm not – Darnold just got a safety. The Rams are going to win this, baby. You got to love it. Bam. Okay.
He wants a face mask call.
That was not a face mask. Maybe like a horse collar. I don't know. He grabbed the back of his pads. Stafford's like,
it was an interesting way that Darnold went down there.
I gotta watch this. Hold on, it's on the replay. These are two good DNs for
I think he did get the face mask.
Oh, good Gandhi. He got all of that face mask. He almost turned his helmet around. Oh, JJ, come on, buddy. Don't throw the helmet. Yeah. It's okay. Maybe if you didn't wear so much bling, you went, oh, God, yeah. No, you ripped his head off.
That is a bad missed call right there.
That is bad. I won't deny. That is bad. I'm going to hear about it from all the Vikings fans for a while. But No, I mean these two DNs for the Rams, Verse and I can't remember the other guy's name off the top of my head. Verse and Zero, whatever number Zero is there. Those two pretty good DNs that they got there. So I mean the Rams are
Yeah,
building towards something on that defense. You gotta like, oh, Young, there he is. That's his name. I just seen him there on the sideline getting all fired up. McConnell's all fired up. You gotta love it there. Vikings gonna get 2 losses on the season. Whatever. Darnold, what? Okay, let's be honest. Let's be honest. No face mask there. No face mask. Does Darnold actually lead the Vikings down the field to score a touchdown here and then get the 2-point conversion? I
I was
watched his
interested to
first
see it
throw on
because
that drive. That was not
yeah, he
even
came up
close
like
to his
10,
receiver.
10 yards short.
Yes, yes. He's not a late game guy. Like when I heard the rumors that, and it was rumors, like they were kibosh pretty fast, but that Matthew Stafford and the Vikings, they were in talks to get Matthew Stafford. I was like, oh no, because Matthew Stafford is good. Like he's still good. I don't care what anybody says. Matthew Stafford can still ball out. So when they said that he was going there, I was like, nobody's scared of the Vikings with Sam Darnold. But when you get the Vikings with Matthew Stafford, I
Yeah,
me as a Packer fan,
different.
I'd be crapping my pants. Like I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Now we're
Can
gonna get like the onside kick after a safety.
how can you would have to how can you recover this? That's my question. Is that possible? You would need somebody to touch it, wouldn't you? I know when you're in a kickoff, if you pop it up, you can run down and catch it, and then it's your ball. Then I know that because we used to do that in high school all the time. We do it. It's called a little pop. We just pop it down the sideline, and we had this
Mhm.
one little fast kid, and we put him on the far outside, and he just take off running down the sideline. He'd go and catch it. We only got it
Yeah,
like twice out of like 30 attempts, but still, that's what we did.
yeah.
How do you play this situation if you're the do you just try to like completely just like send a missile off of somebody?
That would be interesting to try that. I'm assuming they're gonna
Okay, they got everybody up on the
actually.
front
We're about
lines
to
here, so
see.
they have to be doing something.
Yeah,
Like maybe like a
they
drop kick
need the
that goes
ball.
10 yards. Oh, he kicked it straight up in the air.
I'm not mad at the strategy.
Look at that dog,
Oh yeah,
Kyron
Kyrie
Williams.
Williams. Okay, yeah.
He's
Because if
good.
you do that's a tough catch.
Yes, it is.
You're gonna
Yes,
go
I didn't even know
straight
where
up.
the ball was. The camera was confused. They're
I thought he
like,
was gonna hit like the scoreboard the way he kicked that. I mean, he couldn't have done that in Dallas because that would have definitely hit off that scoreboard that hangs down.
that would have broke the scoreboard. Kyron Williams with 22 points tonight in my fantasy.
That that guy, look, if he's on the field, he's gonna score points.
He carries. That's what he does. He carries. So what do we need to know? We need to know fantasy stats. Where should we find some fantasy free agent rankings? Let's look at that. Where do we got? Now these guys are already signed. I need to know right now.
So John
Like,
did say that Oregon did a missile off of an Ohio State player on an onside kick and got it, so it can work.
but this was like a punt. This is like you have to just completely aim your punt downward for a
Yeah.
line drive missile off of somebody. I mean, I could
I mean,
see
I
it
think
working.
what he did on that one was your best case. You punt it
Yes.
straight in the air. You hope a guy kind of looking up stumbles around, maybe runs into his own guy, it falls, and you get it.
What kind like who practices as a punter? Who practices that? Like I want you to send a
Yeah.
freaking kiss missile straight up in the air that's going to go 10 yards and hopefully hit somebody so we can grab it. Like that is not textbook,
Uh,
not textbook at all.
with the new rules, every punter should be trying it now.
Apparently, apparently on that one. So what do we got?
Yeah.
College football. Wrap it up here for the day. What do we got college football this weekend? Any big
Yeah.
time
Let's
matchups?
take a look at that as well.
Navy versus Notre Dame. Number 24 Navy, 6 and
He's
0.
actually really good this year.
Yes, versus Notre Dame in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium. I agree with John. I like Navy over Notre Dame, and that puts Notre Dame. I feel like if they lose this game, they're out. They ain't making the college football playoff.
Yeah, because once you start getting two losses and you're like hovering around because they're 12th in the country now. But if they lose the Navy, you're thinking there might be like 17, 18. Now you're on the outside looking in and hoping a couple of teams ahead of you lose. And that's a tough position to be in when you're now 7, 8 games into the season. So yeah, it'll definitely be an uphill climb for them if Navy does go in there and beats them. But I mean,
I
look, shout
agree.
out to Navy, 24th in the country.
Army and Navy are both undefeated yet. There
Yeah,
is a path for both of them to the college football playoff. That is wild. That is wild to even be thinking about something like that.
yeah.
Does
I feel like normally
BYU
you get like one of
UCF?
them. I feel like normally you get one of them is really good and the other one's bad. The fact that they're both good this year. Yeah.
Why is the spread for BYU and UCF? You have number 11 BYU coming in at 7-0. You have
Mhm.
UCF coming in at 3-4, and the spread is at 2.
They they definitely are not
They're
buying into
giving
BYU at all.
they're giving UCF 2. They're not giving BYU 2. They're giving UCF. They're thinking UCF is going to win this game.
Yeah.
Okay, so BYU, I wonder if they have. Oh,
BYU must be missing like 3, 4 guys or something. Like that's
is their
crazy.
quarterback out? Like somebody tell me that. Is their quarterback out right now? It doesn't seem like it from what I'm seeing in there. Let's look here. I'm checking out the roster right. No, I should look at. No, they don't have a depth chart. Where the hell do you see the depth chart? Looking at their depth, looking at their quarterback room right now. I'm guessing it's this guy right here. No, he's a true
That,
freshman. He
that is
ain't the
wild.
quarterback. I can't believe that the spread. Here he is. This must be
Because
him.
it opened at BYU at -1.5. The fact that it swung the other way, something had to happen.
That's why I don't understand that it's at 2. I'm trying to figure out who the heck is the quarterback for this team right now. Jake Retzlaff. There we go. This is our guy. Let's see here. See if we can find some. He's active. Their quarterback's playing. Everybody seems to be playing.
That is crazy.
Spreads at 2. I don't get it, but I agree with John. If I'm gonna take the spread in the game, I would take BYU to cover. I mean, it's 2.
I mean, it's like looking at their schedule. I mean, they beat Southern Illinois, they beat SMU, they beat Wyoming, they beat Kansas State 38-9.
They
They
whooped
beat
Kansas
Baylor,
State.
beat whooped Arizona, beat Oklahoma State.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get this one. Is it UCF's homecoming game? Like what is going on right now? It's in Orlando. Maybe that's why.
I think it is.
That'd be
And
my
maybe
only guess.
because BYU has Utah next week, do they think BYU might be looking ahead?
That could be. That could very well be.
Hey, if BYU needed bulletin board material, there you go.
Does Alabama get it right against Missouri? Do they find a way to right this ship? Or does Missouri come out with the win and Alabama completely goes into the dumpster? It's Alabama's favored by 17 right now. This game is in Tuscaloosa.
Hmm.
I don't think it's going to be 17. I can tell you that. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Alabama. I think this is going to be a close ball game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would have to believe Alabama gets the win because, like you said, their season has kind of is starting to get away from them, and if they want to think of themselves as a playoff team, this is a game that they need. John's talking about Missouri has 9 starters that are hurt. I mean, I saw this Missouri team struggle to beat BC earlier in the season.
Didn't they have their quarterback go to the hospital and then he came back? Wasn't that Missouri? John, you might know the answer to that one. Wasn't that Missouri that had their quarterback go to the hospital, get something happened, and then he came back to the game after that? I'm pretty darn sure. Maybe it would show it on the ES. I'm on ESPN looking at all these games here, but maybe it would show it on here.
Oh, okay, okay. I mean,
Uh,
it does look like the big game of the weekend is. Yeah, John said yes, mid game.
yep, yep. He got hurt, and they took him off the field. He went to the hospital, and then he came back, and he actually finished the game. So I mean, I like the heart. I like
Yeah,
the heart of this guy to get back in there. I thought it was little crazy to see something like that. But I don't know. Like Alabama. I think is going to win this one. Not gonna lie. I think they're going to win it. I just think that I got to see something out of Alabama that makes me think that this
Oh
team
yeah.
is for real.
So John said he had an MRI on his ankle mid game.
He was good. He was good. They sent
Yeah.
him back. They're like, you good, man. Let's
I mean,
look
look at
for it.
Alabama. You look at Georgia. There was questions about Georgia. Georgia went up against Texas and got the win there. Alabama, I think there's questions about not only you but the new coach. This is an opportunity to kind of quiet a lot of that. I feel like Alabama gets it done. I don't think Alabama misses this opportunity. It looks like game of the week is LSU Texas A&M.
Yeah, and the spread's at off right now. Texas A&M off. That's what it says on
Okay, yeah, because
ESPN here.
CBS Sports has A&M -1.
So I'm just guessing it's off. It's basically zero at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Boise State game. I don't care. It's at
It's at UNLV. Give me Boise State by double digits. Running back
Boise
runs for
State's got to be in the
170.
top 25 by now, aren't they? They're 17th.
Mm-hmm.
UNLV. Yeah, that Genty guy. He is unreal. He stands in the backfield like a brick wall, and then all of a sudden just takes off.
Yeah,
He's
he
going to
does.
be
He does
a
the
very
Jameer
good running
Gibbs.
back. Yep. Yep. The spread is at 3.5 right now. The total is 64. UNLV is missing their quarterback. That quarterback left UNLV?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still pumping out. Let me look at the statistics here of this UNLV team and see what we got for quarterback now. Haj Malik Williams. That's his name.
Okay.
All right, 838 yards, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's got a QBR of 75. Not bad.
Yeah. You can work with that.
Yeah. I mean, he ain't bad at all. Let's see here. Oh, he's also in the run game too. He's got 390 yards on the ground too.
Dual threat. That's
Yeah.
always tough to game plan against. New quarterback came from hometown Campbell in North Carolina. Okay.
Interesting.
College in my hometown.
So what do you think? What were we just looking at? I got Texas favored by 18.5 over Vanderbilt. Come on. Vandy's 25th in the country now. They beat
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. Give them some respect there. Give them some respect. Miami, think about this one. From where Florida State was last year, right? Jibbed out of
Mm-hmm.
college football playoff, all blowing up about that one. This was their redemption season, right? 1-6 right now. Miami's favored by 21.
That
21.
has to kill Florida State alumni. That Miami's that much better.
Well, why do you take in DJ Uyunglele? If he was that good, he
I,
would have
I
never
don't
left
get that
Florida.
fascination with him. I,
Never.
I I didn't like him at Clemson. Liked him less at Oregon State. Like him
I
even
liked him
less.
at first. I liked him at first at Clemson. I wasn't like opposed to him at first at Clemson. And then I was like, this guy he ain't that good.
Yeah. I mean,
That
Florida
was
State. I
the
feel like you could have gotten somebody else in there. Like,
yes. No, I agree. There had to be somebody else sitting out in the wings. I don't even know what they have for backup quarterback. I think they went with their backup quarterback now. I'm pretty positive that DJ is not even. Let's
yeah, he
see.
doesn't need to be. I saw enough of that.
I think Brock Glenn took over for a little bit, but I don't know if DJ's played since then. Let's see here. He played on September 28th. So DJ
Yeah,
has not played since September. So they have gone with
he's
Glenn
he's
since
where
then.
he needs to be on the sideline.
Glenn ain't doing nothing to impress the world either. So that's just a terrible program at this point there. Don't even tell me that, John. Indiana cannot lose. I love the storyline of Indiana. And if you're praying for Indiana to lose while their quarterback is out, just shame on you. Shame on you, John.
There
Come
you
on.
go. He tries to get back in your good graces.
Oh, I love you. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Love that, John. Wisconsin over Penn State. Love that. Love that. Coming to Camp Randall under the lights in the cold. Luke Fickle is going to coach his best game of his life. It's going to be hot. It's going to be heavy. Braden Locke's going to go for like 300 yards. Tyree Walker's a dog on the ground. Wisconsin by at least 10. It's going to be like one of those games. It's going to be one of those games.
That's
Last
definitely
time
a game I will be
Wisconsin,
watching.
yes, sir. Last time Wisconsin won against a top 10 team in Camp Randall under the lights, Ohio State, number one in the country, came to Camp Randall in 2010. The Badgers pulled it off. J.J. Watt was discovered in that game.
Yeah, look, Vanderbilt did it with Alabama. Why not Wisconsin set some
Just give
new
me something,
precedent
right?
and get a win?
Just give me something. Just give me something. Yes, Rorik is out. I believe he had some kind of it's on his hand. Let me double check on that one. But I believe he had something with his hand. Let's see here. Thumb surgery. He had thumb surgery. He's not going to play in this game, but they believe he could be back for the Michigan State or Michigan game. My hope is that they can figure out how to rattle off some wins, get themselves to that Ohio State game ranked yet, because this is an Indiana team that is very good. I don't know who needs to be told that yet, but this is a very good Indiana team.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm like you. I always root for new schools popping up. That's why I love the 12-team playoff. So if Indiana can get in, I don't care if they get blown out in the opening round of the playoffs. It's just good to see teams like that have a year like this and get in there.
Yep.
That's all I'm hoping for. Do you think three ACC teams get into the playoffs? Clemson, Miami, SMU. And he also said maybe add Pitt. When you talk about
No,
12 teams, I think it's tough to get
no,
four. I
no,
think
I
even
don't think
three
the
might be
ACC
pushing it
does. I think,
because you got to figure how many teams from the Big Ten and the
yes,
SEC get in.
that's what I was just about to say. You think of your conferences, you think of, let's just say, let's look at the Big Ten. Indiana stays perfect. Maybe they have one loss to Ohio State, right? And then you look at Oregon. You look at Ohio State. You have Penn State still in that mix right now. You have even teams like Illinois in the mix. And you actually, and I'm not speaking out of bias terms here, but actually Wisconsin is in the fold right now. They're actually
Mm-hmm.
giving a percentage right now to make the playoff because they only have two losses. And those two losses coming to good teams, USC and Alabama. And they also, I mean, 3-1 in conference play. So they're
Yep.
still in the talks right now. And then you look at the SEC right now, and then you have teams like Texas A&M, who's 4-0 in conference play, and they're 8-1 overall, or 6-1 overall. You have LSU, who's 3-0 in conference play, 6-1 overall. You have Georgia, you have Tennessee, you have Texas, you have Alabama. No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The ACC gets two,
Yeah. They'll
and
get
that's if
their
that's
conference
if
champ and yeah.
that's a big if, and that's a big if Miami or SMU or Pitt doesn't slip up. If the one of those teams slips up along the way there, you're going to add another team out of the SEC. You're going to add another team out of the Big Ten before you add another team out of the ACC. I know it's not good. I know it's not great, but you got to look how overloaded these conferences are versus
Hmm.
those. You're going to end up, I guarantee it, year after year with three or four if it gets crazy out of the Big Ten or SEC, and then your other conferences are just going to split what's left. Yes, your conference champion's going to get in, but then will your runner-up get in? I don't know. I want to say yes. Like I really want to say yes because I believe if Clemson does win the ACC, Miami's got a good football team. Pitt
Mm-hmm.
hasn't played bad. They haven't played bad, right? SMU isn't bad, but then I mean, you're talking about the SEC. You're talking about teams that I mean, there isn't an easy game in the SEC. Ask Alabama; they went to Vanderbilt and lost. There isn't an easy game in the Big Ten. There's a lot of bad stuff that happens in the Big Ten week after week, right? With upsets. So I mean, I don't know. If you put conferences to conferences, the tougher two conferences are the Big Ten and the SEC, and the rest of them are just going to follow suit. Maybe they get a team, maybe they get two, but that's the max. I don't think they get anything more than two.
I feel the same way. I think their best path of getting that done would be Miami runs the table, Clemson sticks with the one loss. I do think Pitt is interesting though, because I was kind of quick to dismiss Pitt. Pitt has games against SMU and Clemson up. If Pitt gets those two wins, that would that would give Clemson a second loss, so Clemson might kind of fall out because of that. Yeah, I just think even with that, you probably still get 2 out of those 4 in.
Yep. I just think it's so hard. It's so hard to vouch for a team. Like, I'm watching Scott Van Pelt and looking at Cooper Cup's hair. He's got like pulled down over top of his eyes right now. You can't even see this guy.
Hmm.
It's gnarly looking. But sorry about that. I got distracted. I mean, at that point, okay, the committee's going to go, okay, you got your, like you just said, the hypothetical. Say say Clemson loses a game, Miami has a loss. One of them's to the opposing team. They go to the conference championship. That's what gives the other team a loss. Okay, there's 2 teams in. Now you go to your SEC and you're like, okay, I got the top team, I got the runner up. The Big Ten, I got top team and the runner up. Okay, now I look at the third place Big Ten team, Indiana. They have, let's just say, one loss. Say John's right, they lose to Washington, but then let's just say they go and they beat Ohio State. Okay. Now Indiana looks better than Pitt.
Yeah.
Now you look at the SEC. You look at, I mean, you have Georgia, you have Texas A&M, you have Texas, right? You look at those 3 teams. You're like, okay, Texas completely demolished everybody outside of Georgia, and that was a lot to do with Georgia's defensive line just completely owning Texas in the first half. Outside of that, not much happening for Georgia. So how do you keep Texas out? You can't say no to Texas. Texas is Texas, right? And
Yeah.
Alabama, let's just say they win out the rest of the season. Alabama is a better football team than what you're going to get out of the ACC. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's just Alabama, right? And it comes with
Hmm.
name, too. It always sucks because, end of the day, this comes down to name, too. Like, that's how it
Yeah.
works. I mean, yes, we expanded the playoff, but how are you going to keep Alabama out? How are you going to keep Georgia out? How are you going to keep Texas out? If all your ACC teams could somehow all go undefeated, sure, you can keep them out. In
Yeah.
this current format where you have 12 teams and you have your locks, but then after that it's a toss up. Who does the committee want to put in there? It gets tougher. And I just think, we're talking about Army and Navy potentially getting in. Well, they would take one of those spots. Boise State would take one of those spots from one of those ACC teams. It's one of those things now. So I don't know. You expand the playoff, but there's still all them problems, right? Oh, Gandhi,
Hmm.
Chris Canty. Why is Canty? Is this Chris Canty on with Scott Van Pelt right now? Why is he still out there?
He's probably got some
He's supposed to be in bed.
hatred.
He's got to do his
He's probably
morning
got some
show.
hatred. Yeah. I mean, look, Canty's had a few moments where I'm like, okay, but like you were
Joe
saying,
Burrow stinks.
yeah, that's the one I just can't get behind. Um, I think the problem is if you look at Pitt and SMU right now, they're 19th and 22nd in the country. So in order for them to move up where they can get into the conversation, because remember, you're going to basically take your top 11 in the rankings, and then your group of 5 team will make the 12th team. Can Pittsburgh somehow jump Ole Miss or Alabama, like you said, or A&M or Indiana or Notre Dame? That might be a lot to ask right now. And I did notice that Pittsburgh is undefeated. But if Pittsburgh can go in and get SMU and get Clemson, that obviously makes a big case for them. I just think their safest bet is if you're the ACC, you get Miami and Clemson win out, meet in the ACC title game. The winner gets the higher seed, and your loser gets into the playoff. I think that's the best the ACC can hope for, unless you get
Yeah.
crazy chaos in the SEC and like Pittsburgh can slide in. I don't see it where they are right now. I don't think it's gonna happen.
And it could happen. Like you said, you could see some crazy chaos. You
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen the rest of the way. But I mean, man, it's going to be tough. It's always going to be tough. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not just this season. It is always going to be tough for me to sit here or for you to sit here and it's like say for a fact that this team should get in or this team should get in. Like I don't even know how do you vouch for an ACC team over some of the SEC teams? How do you do that? How do you sit there and say that a one-loss team in the ACC, due to lack of power of conference, is better than a two-loss team in, let's just say, like Alabama coming out of the SEC, and their 2 losses were to Texas and Georgia? and both those teams are already in the college football playoff. How do you vouch for, Pitt to be better than that? It's so hard. I wouldn't want to be in that position as a committee to try to make that decision. I don't think sometimes it's not fair, right? Sometimes it's definitely not fair by any means.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look at strength of schedule remaining on this season there and see let's see some of the top teams on here. Wisconsin's got the 6th hardest schedule in all of football remaining on the docket. That's bad. That's bad news. Because they do have, let's see here, they have Penn State, and then they play Iowa, and then they have Oregon, and then they play, I believe, Nebraska after that, and then they have Minnesota. That's a tough stretch of games for Wisconsin. I was trying to see if I could find some of these SEC teams here. Oregon's got the 14th hardest schedule remaining on the season there. Penn State's got the 19th. Texas has the 21st. Pitt's got the 20th hardest schedule remaining. So you got to keep that in mind too. Strength of schedule coming up here. They have a very tough stretch in front of them. Ole Miss has the 25th. Ohio State has the 27th. Let's just see if I can find a couple quick ones here. Georgia's got the 42nd hardest schedule coming up. I don't see Alabama in the top 50 of teams with hardest schedule remaining here, but the highest probabilities to let's just see here, make the college football playoff. Georgia's at 92, Oregon's at 87, Ohio State's at 76, Texas is at 74, Penn State's at 69 right now, Miami's at 61, LSU's at 60, SMU. See, this is where, okay, now we're talking about, ACC schools. This is actually impressive to see here. According to PFF, NCAA power rankings projections to make the college football playoff, we have SMU at 58 right now. We have Notre Dame at 58, Clemson at 56, Kansas State at 45, Tennessee at 44, Texas A&M at 33, BYU at 32. I mean, you talk about Alabama, 25. They're ranked in that 25 range right now. Wisconsin's at 10%. They got them at 10% right now. So Boise State's at 26% chance to, or no, not 26%. My bad there. They're at 17%, 26% to win the conference. But that puts your perspective on it there too. That, I mean, even PFF has a lot of these ACC schools in there. You have Miami in there. You have Clemson. You have, let's just see here. There's another one. SMU is in there. So definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, Notre Dame. Yes, Notre Dame has to be in the top 12 because they don't get the conference championship qualifier.
They're giving them a 58% chance as of right now to make it into the top 12. They have them in that top 12. They're at that 8th spot. They're actually tied with SMU percentage-wise to make the college football playoff at this moment. So, I mean, but that's barring they have a USC game yet. They have Army and Navy yet. They have some tough – shouldn't be tough if you're actually a college football playoff contender, but I think will be tough.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at SMU's schedule, I guess I get why they are like the second highest ACC team, because you're dealing with Duke, Pittsburgh. If they were to beat hand Pittsburgh their first loss, they would own the tiebreaker. They would have an inside track to the ACC title game, which would be a big deal for SMU to help them, because then they finish up with BC, Virginia, and California. So I guess I could see SMU's path in. I still think they get 2 teams, but it'd be interesting if they were to get a third.
55th hardest schedule, it says, according to PFF. Let's just see. Clemson's got the 100th hardest schedule remaining there. And then it shows Miami with the 50th. And you put that into comparison with some of your other like top schools, some of the bigger conferences we're talking about. Those are all in the top 50.
That's a terrible. Clemson's got Louisville, Virginia Tech. They have Pittsburgh, but then they have the Citadel in South Carolina.
Though Louisville did play a good game against Miami this last weekend, so that's not a team to mess with. So that could end up being one of those games.
And Virginia Tech could be tough if they're looking ahead to Pittsburgh the week after.
Agreed. That's why, the Penn State-Wisconsin matchup this weekend here, you got Ohio State right after that. If you're Penn State, they haven't beat Ohio State in a while. That's one of those games. It could be a trap game, and you got to avoid trap games. That's the biggest thing you got to avoid. Penn State people are telling me it's not a trap game. I don't know what your definition of a trap game is, but this definitely would feel like one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I mean, I feel like that was a great way to end it with some good college football talk, which I feel like next week we'll definitely look at again because there might be some movement in the standings and the rankings. I'm excited for the 12 team playoff. I think this part of it now is where the fun really happens, where we see jockeying a position and remaining schedule and everything like that. Um, so yeah, appreciate all of you that were in the chat. I had a lot of fun. Let's see. RIP to South Florida basketball head coach.
Yes, he did pass away. I believe it was today. I believe it was today here. He was dealing with some terminal illness, I believe is what I read. So yes,
Yeah,
prayers to
that's
him out there. I mean, that's a terrible
43
situation.
is 43 is way too young. Yeah,
Yes. Prayers to the players, family, everything like that in this situation. Hopefully they're able to kind of rally together after this and kind of pull one together for him because that was a sucky
yeah,
situation. That's what that was.
yeah. I mean, we're about to get into college basketball season. Like, look, South Florida as a team, you got to root for them now.
Yep.
Like, like I said, this is something right before the season that's tough, but it can bring them together. They can play with that emotion, and who knows, maybe they're in for a magical season.
We hope so.
I
We
agree
can
with
only
you.
hope so.
I agree with you. You know, prayers out to the whole college family out there. And as like John told us, their coach died at 43. It's crazy, but I'm gonna leave that up there for. But yeah, so make sure you check out Trajan over on Wisconsin Sports on the Go. Like he said, he'll be live tomorrow. Looking ahead to the weekend with the Packers. I'm sure Camp Randall will be coming up. They have a big game as well, so make sure you check them out. Um, yeah, I mean, I'll be around. You can find me either here or my channel, chomping at the bit. Greatly appreciate it. So make sure you guys come back next Thursday, 9:30 ish, sometime around there, for another edition of Sports Banter across the country. Yeah, look, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy your weekend of big games, and we'll be back here to talk about next week. All right, good night. See